Let's take a moment, as we did before our evening meditation, to invite the masters and especially to already thank them for this opportunity, this weekend of satsang with one another, with their blessings. Let's see them one by one in their living presence in this temple and in our hearts. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, beloved Masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru, Paramhans Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, beloved Swami Ji, we humbly bow before you all, invoking your presence, your eternal divine friendship. Divine Mother, beloved Master, we thank you for the gift of Swamiji in our lives. As we learn his teachings today, help us live by those principles, that we may become ever more pure instruments of these divine blessings. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's do a chant or two, and then we will listen to Swamiji's music.
wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Wilt thou come, wilt thou come, just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee. Night and day, night and day, I look for thee. Night and day. And let's take this chant into a brief meditation just for about 5 minutes. This chant is called Cloisters. Long I've called you, my Lord, long I've called you. Many years I have longed for your sight. Bathe the darkness with tears of devotion. Offered candles in prayer to your light. How much longer, friend, must I cry your name? I am yours, ever yours. Will you come? Will you come? Long I've called you, my Lord, long I've called you. Many years I have longed for your sight. Bathe the darkness with tears of devotion. Offered candles in prayer to your light. How much longer, friend, must I cry your name? I am yours, ever yours. Will you come? Will you come? Long I've called you, my Lord, long I've called you. Many years I have longed for your sight. Bathe the darkness with tears of devotion. Offered candles in prayer to your light. How much longer, friend, must I cry your name? I am yours, ever yours. Will you come? Will you come? Sitting upright now. Let's lift our gaze to the spiritual eye Use the tool of the incoming breath especially to lift the devotion, these feelings from the heart.
Making a complete offering, holding nothing back, our thoughts, fears, doubts, in one sweep of loving devotional energy. Let's offer them all at the feet of God, gurus, at the point between the two eyebrows. We'll meditate for about 5 minutes. Oh, 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 Om Shanti, peace. Amen. I'd like to invite Ruti and a few others who are singing, sing us a songs of Swamiji.
Well, no, some of the songs, so we're going to all of them sing, and they were trying to put the words on the screen here, so we can't see. But I'd like to invite anybody.
You take the mic. Yes.
No, you can keep that mic, we're gonna move this one. Right, David? And is that it? No one else? Really? Great job. You do know these. Yeah, no, I'm gonna, the words, you don't have to.
Wendy has a beautiful voice.
Yes, please come, join.
Here, I'll get you a book.
You see the music is such right.
David, right here. Oh.
So, what's it on?
It's I wander with you, but if you have good eyes, it's right here too.
That's it. Oh,
See?
great. Yeah.
Can everyone
Okay.
see, okay? So we'll sing through twice. These are not St. Francis's words, but it's certainly inspired by the life of St. Francis and living in Assisi as I do. You can really feel this, the vibration of St. Francis in this song. Swami lived in Assisi, that's where he left his body. Can you see? Okay. Meanwhile, if you can see the words here, or that was good, I saw somebody taking a picture. And then you can see it on your phone. So this next one is Brothers. Yes. Be under B. Okay. If you've ever seen the movie Finding Happiness, you'll recognize this song. I've lived in many countries and mixed with many men. I've shared the days of Wonderful, wonderful. Well done. Okay. Do you want to end with peace after your talk?
That's a good idea.
And if we can listen to Swami singing at any point now.
Let's
or
do that
later.
now.
Okay.
And then peace as we used to do at the
Okay,
end.
at the end, exactly. Okay, thank you. Sings. And, sorry. In his lifetime, the interview. And for many of us, it was, not communities or all the books or the other songs or any Bhagavad Gita would bring millions to God. And so this is a very special song to him for us all.
Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire, only you remain and life again. Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire, only you remain and life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love, all the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam, only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away. is all I know. Sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Love is all I know. Sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love. All the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam. Only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away.
David, I'd like to stand and speak. Do you need to readjust the cameras? Okay. Well, good evening once again, everybody. And I was seeing the screen over here. I don't know which of these two cameras, but some of you Guru Bhais are online. So welcome to you also. It's really nice to have you. And first of all, thank you to Kyle and Colleen. Is Colleen here? No. Okay, but thank you for inviting me. I was here in 2019, and I'll just give a little background about why I am here, why I was here, because I stay with Jayaji, Nayaswami Jaya, who is the spiritual co-director of Ananda Sangha's work in India, and has been a great fortune to be with him in the last 10 years. And over the years, he would tell me that Swami had asked him to come to Rhode Island. And this was 25 years ago. And in 2000, right after I came, my background is in medicine. So Swami asked me, he said, oh, you must go to Ananda village and meet Dr. Peter. He does a wonderful work. Kriyananda ji had asked me to run a rural clinic, which I did for about 6 years. And Swami said, oh, Peter runs a wonderful clinic. You should go and meet him. I said, absolutely, I would. Except I wouldn't get the visa. Twice I was denied, one after the other. and by Swami. And Swami was like, what? He said, I'm going to write a letter and they should give him the visa. And then Keshava, those of you who know him, Tyagi Keshava in Delhi, he said to Swami, it doesn't work like that. Swamiji was King Henry in the past. And I once heard one of our acharyas say, he said, I kick myself now. He said, Swamiji was so loving. He was so patient with us. He said, in another incarnation, he could have had my head lopped off. But he said, he was just very kind. And as you see, somehow there was this extreme softness about him, especially, I should say, at the time we saw him in India. Those were the last 10 to 12 years of his life. But anyway, through certainly his grace and prayers, I did get the visa in 2015. Here I am. But Jayaji was then one time mentioning, he said, over the years, I tried to make it a point to go to Rhode Island, but now sadhana needs me more, my time, I'm pressed on time. And he said, why don't you go? I said, well, yeah. He's like, so I said, yes. I said, that's one thing we are taught in Ananda, express willingness. Say yes first, then figure out how you're going to do it. So I came at that time. But these things do work. I'll go back for a moment about my visa. Let's say you're denied twice. Now, why was I denied? First of all, I write on my paper, they said, okay, how much is your income? My income was $40 back in 2008. I had just become a monk. You barely get a little honorarium. My fees not even, and this includes my medical fee and all. I'm in a rural area. People, they find it hard even to pay half a dollar. They would repay me after 6 months if they found me somewhere. And circumstances were like that. Swami and I had discussions about it. He asked me, he said, would you make your clinic free? I said, not really. But if somebody really needs money, I said, I would give it to them. I had the most affordable, the cheapest medicines in all of India. It was a company called Low Cost. So I filled in Swamiji about how I'm trying to help. LOCOST. But that was their brand. And Swami, when I asked him for advice, he said, I like that. He said, don't make it free. He said, if you make anything free totally, people sometimes don't value it as much. And after we had some of those discussions, I asked him for advice. I said, sir, I'm starting soon. Do you have any advice for me? And he just said one line. And Swamiji said, be in bliss. He said, be in bliss, Aditya. And he said, to the degree you yourself are in bliss, to that degree, you will be able to uplift other people spiritually. He said, the teachings are not enough. Medicines are not enough. He said, of course, people will come for certain circumstances. You'll diagnose them, give them the medication. But if you are in bliss, they will go back home uplifted. And they would not know why. And I'll tell you, it was, like once we come on the path, we realize that things are really not random. I mean, as I started putting out energy in that direction, fundraising, because now I had a clinic. I used to walk in about 4 or 5 neighboring villages. Then I got a motorcycle, a bike. Then I got an ambulance. So I started going to 16 villages in the neighborhood outside of Pune, which is where, by the way, I'm coming from. It's a city near Mumbai. And it was in one of these village meetings in our village. Some guests had come to see Swamiji, and I was having tea with them. And I asked one of the members, his name is Chris Cunny, and the uncle of Arevan, Brian. Some of you may know Brian is in Palo Alto right now in the school over there. So I asked him, I said, so what do you do? And he said, oh, I work with the government in California. I said, that's interesting. I said, with who in the government? He said, Kamala Harris and such. I said, I've been denied my visa twice. And the reasons, I said, the reason is my salary was so low. And we are 3 siblings in the family. So I said, my 2 sisters are in America. So these guys told me outright in the interview that, oh, you're not going to come back. you're unmarried. I was a monk. I carried my monastic certificate in the second interview of no avail. They said, no, you're not married. You don't have a salary. You're not coming back. You're going to stay in America. I said, no, anyway. So I explained this to Chris. And he said, let me see what I can do. And it was so sweet. I believe her good name is, she recently left her body, Senator Feinstein. Senator Feinstein, she wrote a very kind letter. And for 5 of us monks, because I was not the only one in this situation. And she said, about the interview that please come. And she said that, she facilitated, smoothed the waters, shall I say. And we found ourselves basically getting the visa, and here we were. So in sharing about Swamiji, is this your first time here? Well, welcome. I'm talking a little bit about Swami Kriyananda, my own teacher. In India, in Hindi, you would say Guru, a spiritual teacher. And he was a direct disciple to Paramhansa Yogananda ji, whose teachings we share through Ananda. And but I remember Swamiji's last talk in Pune. This was a month before he left his body. And the topic was Paramhansa Yogananda, a life in God. A life in God. And Swami, by the way, was always working on you. Yeah, those of you who met him, and I'll share some stories about how he's still working on you. You see, what are we? We are beings of consciousness. Ultimately, everything is consciousness. The difference between a God-realized person, which I believe Swamiji was, Master told him God would come to you at the end of your life. The difference between them and us is only a matter, a degree of consciousness. The higher they go, a little bit like a good friend or an older sibling, a parent, their job is to, slowly bring you towards the light. And in that, they do not hesitate in putting you through some circumstances. I remember once when I first met Swamiji, I had just read the autobiography, and 4 days later, I saw an ad in the Times of India newspaper and saw his picture. He was launching the Bhagavad Gita in Delhi. I was practicing in Delhi. I went and saw him. Quickly, I came on the path. But when I finally had the opportunity to meet him one-on-one, I said to him, I recognized you might say, he had ripened spiritually as a fruit. He had applied Master's teachings at that time for 60 years. And I could see from my eyes, I could feel from my heart, that much good karma, you might say, I had brought in this life. I was like, wow, I've never seen an old man like that. Old in the sense, I was a doctor. So I was like, wow, normally life doesn't treat you very well when you're at that stage. But I was like, this is like a reverse aging for him. Something about him is defying what I'm taught. So anyway, when I met him, I said to him, Swamiji, I said, I only want to do what you and Master want. Please change me. He was like an X-ray machine. He could see through you. I'll share 1 or 2 stories about how he diagnosed cracks in my consciousness and just, but then the important thing was, I told him then, I said, Swamiji, I only want to do what you and Master want. Please change me. I want you to help me change myself, my consciousness. And Swami very sweetly said, I like your spirit very much, Aditya. There's nothing in you that I'd like to change. But if the need arises, I will not hesitate. And have I thanked him again and again and again for that? Because, let's say you have a good friend. They'll suggest, a really good friend is concerned only in your welfare, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, health, financial, whatever you call it. There are different kinds of friends we have. But very rarely will a friend go to the point of almost allowing himself, you to be upset with him? I mean, touching that nerve, you might say, exposing that crack in a very kind, sweet, gentle way. But like Master said to his disciples, Yoganandaji said, he said, I watch your lives. I go through your lives every night, but I don't go where I'm not invited. There was a monk in Master's own building, Mount Washington, and you'll know the story. And he went through some challenges, and Swami then was the head of the men's monastery. And Swami said to Master, oh, Master, he's really confused. Won't you speak to him? And Master said, certainly. And Master spoke. The boy started feeling better. And then a few months later, again, he was low. And Swami reached out to Master once again, won't you help him? And Swami said very quietly, lovingly, respectfully, Master just looked outside the window and softly he said, this time it has gone too far. I'm sorry, I cannot be of help, because he has stopped asking for help inwardly. Now somebody may say, oh, why is Master conditional? Master was going by soul respect. How would it look if somebody entered your house without invitation? It just is not right. It's respect. It's a principle. It's a little bit like Swami Kriyananda ji. You know, I should share this story over here. 2013, actually, 21st April, he passed away 11 years ago in this month. And I was very fortunate. Swami ji had a friend. You know, actually, I'm thinking today somehow the stories are coming out around visas. First was the American visa. Well, this one's about the Italian visa, because Swami passed away in Italy, Ananda Assisi in Italy. And the moment we heard people world over were heading in that direction, of course, it was Kriyanandaji's wish that his body be buried as it is in Ananda village. So the moment I heard Swami's passed away, some of us, you know, I said, oh, I know one gentleman. He was the president of the Indo-Italian Chamber of Commerce. And I said, I'm going to call him, because this has to happen very quickly. So I made a phone call, and he was quite aggrieved hearing that. He said, just come to Mumbai. How many of you? I said, 5 of us. And within 24 hours, we had our visa. We took on the ticket. We were up and about. And when I reached there, we have a friend, a founding member of Ananda Italy. Her name then was Graziella. And she and her husband, Bhima, were founding members. And she told me this story. The 5th day of Swamiji's passing, his body was still there, had not yet come here to America. And she said, Aditya, just 2 days ago, this most amazing. So when I met her, I said, hi, Graziella. And she said, hello. But she said, by the way, my name is now Shanti Ma. Shanti means peace, and Ma means mother. Shanti Ma. I said, oh, that's very interesting. And she said, you know, I'm not sharing it too widely, but I'll tell you. And then later she did make a video and shared, you know, beautifully, because you'll see how the story goes. And so here she was meditating with Kriyanandaji's body the second night of his passing. And she said around 1 a.m. And people were keeping a vigil. So she was alone in the temple, and she said this tunnel of light as wide as the head and heart, she said, came straight from where his body was to her. And actually, let me give you the background. 5 days before Swami's passing, she and her husband had sought out a meeting with him. And they met about a particular reason. But when they met, Swami started talking. He offered tea. He invited others. He thanked them for being founding members. He thanked them for everything they had done. And little did people know that this was going to be the last meeting. And Swami was, he told too many people, even in India, as he was leaving, I don't think I'll come back. I don't think my body will allow for more outreach. So he thanked them. And then she said when they came out and they were putting on their shoes, she looked at her husband. She said, Bhima, we forgot to ask the one thing we had come to ask, which is a spiritual name. She said, I wanted a spiritual name. And he said, oh, now, you know, he's so tired. We'll meet him again. She said, okay. Well, 2 days after her passing, this light comes, as I said, when she was meditating by his body, and there was Kriyanandaji on the other side, and he looked at her. And remember, her name is still Graziella, and he says, Shanti Ma. And imagine if somebody called you by another name, you're like, he says, Shanti Ma. And she says, sir, are you talking to me? He said, I don't see anybody else around. And then he said, you didn't guess this would happen, did you? And he started laughing. And then he blessed her, and the vision ended. And she said the following morning, she went to the kitchen and she was serving, and somebody asked her to pass a pan, except they said, Graziella, can you pass me the pan? And she said, yes, but my name now is Shanti Ma. And then they said, how? Why? Because at that time, only Swamiji was giving spiritual names. So she related the story, and the person was wide-eyed. And she thought for a moment that maybe this is a personal experience, not to be shared publicly. So she excused herself from the kitchen. She said she went to the temple, inwardly apologized to Swami that I'm sorry, but what am I supposed to do? And she said instantly he came back in a vision. And he said to her, it is your spiritual name. I've given you the name so that people can call you this. And she said, and so tell people about, you'll have to tell about this vision. Then he said, I also want you to tell them this thing, another important thing. And that's why I'm telling you this story. He said, please tell them. Just as I have come to you, Shantima, I can come to each one of them. But they have to call out to me. Otherwise, I cannot come. Such is the divine law. Now, that's a very interesting thing how he put. Swami was a writer, editor. He was very particular with his words. I can come to each one of them, but they have to call out to me. Otherwise, he didn't say, I will not come. He said, I cannot come. Such is the divine law. Autobiography of a yogi starts. Master saying India is known for its search for ultimate eternal verities, and concomitant, when you're looking for truth, in the beginning, a book, a thought, your ideas are okay. But after a while, Master writes, and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. Almost everybody in India writes it, guru-disciple relationship. That's how, because the guru is God realized. The guru is the teacher. You write him first, guru. But disciple-guru relationship, Master, because it depends on the disciple. God is there. God realized masters are there. When we are ready, they come into our lives. So keep that in mind. That's a beautiful, because sometimes we feel, oh, he's not with us anymore. But the principle is there, and their power flows around. So anyway, coming back to that last talk Swamiji did in Pune, I got to know 15 minutes before the talk, I was supposed to introduce Ananda on the stage in front of hundreds of people. And then somebody was going to introduce Kriyananda ji. And Swami sent out a word, I want Aditya to introduce me, and somebody else will do that. And this had happened once before. I was introducing him, and he said, I want him to introduce Ananda. And I was like, he's always playful. He always likes to do these things. So anyway, the topic of that talk was Paramhansa Yogananda, a life in God. And Swami opened it by saying, to speak too personally about a master like Paramhansa Yogananda is actually to do a disservice to him. He says, because of course he had a wonderful personality, gender, body, age, but he said he was so much more than that. And he said, I want to mention this right in the beginning so we don't box him. Historical context only. Yogananda is alive. Like somebody who came to India in 1954, after reading the autobiography of a yogi, and he went at the feet of a teacher in Rishikesh. And he said, sir, I want to be your disciple. And this was a very wise man. He said, well, my child, I see you are already a disciple of Yogananda. He said, no, I'm not. I have read his book, but I have not met him. I have not taken discipleship. And Yogananda, he said, died 2 years ago. And this spiritual teacher says to him, my son, Yogananda is very much alive. You are dead. He said, he's alive. So that's because in the physical world, yes, things do perish. But one of the sweetest, I think perhaps the sweetest gift of the spiritual path is truth cannot die. Like Christ said, he said, heaven and earth shall pass, but my word, that truth that he brought, that's a principle. In one form or another, it brings itself. So I'll share a few little stories about Swamiji. The first one was, he was very loving. I'll actually start with that. You played that beautiful song. And it was, again, my good fortune over the years after his passing. It was in 2015, then 17, and 16. Those 3 years, I happened to be in 3 places and have these 3 experiences around his life. Now, remember, he had passed away in 2013. So it was 2015, 16, and we are doing an art exhibition in Pune. We worked all day. It was 9 p.m. at night. And the lady who was coordinating this, her name is Shamini. She's an artist, and she was putting this whole thing together. And I said to her, I said, let's take a break now. I said, we have to take a break. It's your birthday. And I said, we're going to take you out. Let's go to a nice hotel. But we were all like in work clothes, and we went to this 5-star hotel, Le Méridien. And we walked in, and there was hardly anybody in the Italian restaurant. And we walked straight in, and they have these special rooms for people who want to have a business meeting or something. And when you're ignorant, that's one of the benefits. You just do what you do. So we went in, we sat over there, made ourselves comfortable. And this master chef, Italian guy, came out and he said, hi, how can I help you? And we said, well, we want to try out the food. This is the first time we are here, and it's her birthday. And he said, oh, wonderful. So he started singing. And I used to wear yellow clothes at that time. I was a brahmachari. My uniform was yellow. There was another guy in yellow. And this guy looks at me and he said, why are you in yellow? I said, oh, I'm a monk. He says, no. He said, I was like, what happened to him? He said, why do you do this to your parents? I was like, well, I said, now they are sort of okay, but I said it was a little disappointing in the beginning. He said, no. So he sat down with us. He said, no, tell me, why? And later I would know, we became very good friends. We still are friends. His only child took monastic vows and was serving in Burkina Faso, is still serving in Africa. And this man came from a very wealthy Italian family, and he was deeply hurt that he could never, his son entered monasticism in his teenage years. So he said, I could just never be with him, talk to him. He doesn't accept anything from me. So he was kind of hurt. So the moment I said, I'm a monk, he said, no, I'm not serving Italian food. He didn't say that, but anyway, so I was like, suddenly I'm like, well, it's her birthday, and where is this conversation going? And I said, well, we can talk about this. I said, I understand how it is. I said, we can have a conversation. And just as I was explaining things to him, he saw this in my hand through my kurta. And he says, well, what is that? I said, oh, it's an astrological bangle. We wear it. And he says, I think I know in which organization you're a monk. I said, okay. I said, then he says, I know your leader. I said, my leader? And at that time, I had not brought Jyotish and Devi ji there. I was like, he said, Swami Kriyananda. He said, wow. It was more than 2 years after Swami's passing. So, and about 3 years since Swami stayed there. I said, you know Swami Kriyananda? He said, yes. He used to come here. He used to call me Roberto. He said he used to talk to me in Italian. He gave me his books. And then he said, and he gave me a lot of power. He said he used to tell me how to especially make his pasta. The one time I took him to the restroom, I talked to him about difficulty in my life, and he gave me counseling. He had me sit on this table many times with him. He said, wow, you're from Kriyananda's group? I said, yes. He said, he was my very good friend. Then he says, come home, we'll talk more, I'll tell you. And I went to his house. And Roberto's father had met Padre Pio, the great saint in Italy. And so I go to his house, and he's got this picture of Padre Pio, and on both sides of them are Swamiji's books. He said, this is my altar. He said, whenever I'm in doubt, I used to open his books. One was God is for Everyone, I think. The other, maybe it was the Book of Quotations, Living Wisely, Living Well, something like that. And so, isn't that beautiful? And then we are friends to this day. Another time I'll tell you, I went and saw Roberto with another monk because it was his birthday. So we went, but we were busy that day, so we reached a day later. And no, sorry, I'm mixing the two things. I met him, and I couldn't go the previous day because it was Kriyanandaji's birthday. So we were celebrating in the ashram. And we took some cake for him. I said, nice to meet you. I said, oh, by the way, yesterday was Swami's birthday. He said, was it? He said, he came in my dream yesterday. And he waved like this. That's amazing. When Swami left his body, I remember people were all over the world. His disciples are all over the world. So I was telling somebody in the US that, oh, he's left his body. And they said, it was a very sweet little girl, you know, and she said, oh, he told me now, last time we met that I'll see you again. And I said, well, they're always with us and such, and I pray. She's actually my younger sister. And I said, no, just keep in prayers. He wanted to be with God, and we all have to go physically, so he's gone. I said, keep him in prayers. She called me a few hours later, and she said it was so much grief for her, she just went back to sleep. And as she was going to sleep, she said to him, she said, you left without saying goodbye? And then she said she came in her dream, and he was saying bye. And as he was going, she said, into space. Yeah. And it's like beautiful things, you know. Another time I was in Mumbai. Actually, this time I got my visa through Senator Feinstein. It was 2015. But that morning was, well, they may refuse it, they may give it, let's see what happens. So I had gone with another devotee from Pune. It's a couple hours drive, as I told you. So we went to the embassy, and I told him, he was in the parking, I had to go inside. I told him, I said, please pray deeply. I said, if I get the visa today, I said, I'm going to take you to a hotel over here, a 5-star hotel. We're going to have lunch. And I said, this is the same place where Swami Kriyananda ji stayed. He did a very remarkable program, the biggest we've had in Mumbai. Beautiful things happened. I'll tell you exactly where it happened, all the stories, but I should get the visa. He's like, I'm praying. I'm not even breathing. I'm praying. So I went in and right away got it. So I came out. I remember, you know, both of us were just tall enough to see each other through the wall. Drove to South Mumbai. People think that Asia's best PA, National Center of Performing Arts in Mumbai. He's passed. But when he was creating, you see, he took a young man with him one day. This young man was selected among 26 of some of the best minds in India. This one person is chosen. And he's standing with the founder at the end of what is called Marine Drive. It's about, I think, 10 kilometers of this Queen's Necklace, it is called. And on the sea, the Arabian Sea is on that side. So they're standing literally at the edge. And this guy's like, sir, what's my job now? You know? And he says, yeah, that's why we've come here. He said, now, you see this like 3-4 acres of sea? He said, yes. He said, first we're going to reclaim it. Then we are going to build the best auditorium of India and Asia over here. That gentleman who was chosen for the project was our first Kriyaban in Mumbai. His name was Mr. Biswas. Many of you know Dharamdas and Nirmala ji from Sacramento. So one day when I was running my rural clinic, I get a mail. Our financial work happens in Delhi. And I get a mail that, hey, somebody has contributed a money to your rural clinic. You may want to write and thank this person. So I did. And the reply came back, and beneath his name was the credentials, Executive Director of NCPA, with a link and such. So I was like, wow, I don't know him, but he's contributed, and wow, I had never seen. And I'll send you the link later. You can share it with others. And we saw the place. Then I met him. As I was going, Dharamdas ji said to me, he said, be careful, don't sit too close to Mr. Biswas. I said, really? Why is it? Why is that? He said, you can get diabetes. Diabetes. He said, he's the sweetest devotee we have in all of India. Very sweet, very humble. I mean, he was at such a high position, but when I told him I'm coming, he was standing there in the hot, sweltering afternoon sun, waiting for me in the parking. And Mumbai can be hot, humid. And I was calling him. I said, where do I come? Where is this landmark? And he says, I'm standing here in my tie and my shirt. I'm wearing a red tie. And very sweet guy. And he took me around, showed me the place. Then he gently asks me, he said, do you know where Lahari Mahashaya was from? And I hadn't read my autobiography that well. I would realize. I said, Banaras? He says, no, that's where he later moved. He said he was from Bengal. I said, oh, yes, he was from Bengal. He said he was from Krishnanagar district of Bengal, from Ghurni village. I said, that's right. 15, 20 minutes later, we're talking. I asked him, I said, so where are you from? He said, I'm from Bengal. I said, oh, very nice. I said, where in Bengal? He said, Krishnanagar district. These who were initiated by Lahari Mahashaya directly. And he said, as it says in the autobiography, they do not publicly talk about it because Lahari Mahashaya's practice was more, as we know, one-on-one. He never started an organization around him. Anyway, Biswas ji said to me, he said, Aditya, you have no idea. So anyway, around this time, I was doing outreach in Mumbai. At that time, along with Shurjo, 1.5 years, we went from Pune every weekend. And Swami one day tells us, he said, I want to launch the book, Paramhans Yogananda, a biography. And he said, I want to launch it in Mumbai. Now, we were doing outreach. We didn't have much of a database there. So a few people tried to tell Swami, it's better to do it in Pune. More people might come, but he kept saying, no, let's go to Mumbai. We'll go to Mumbai. He said, okay. And Swami says, I want to do it in a big way. He was, as we know, so dedicated to doing master's work. He was selling his house in Delhi at that time. And Swami put in a huge chunk of money. And he says, we want to do this program in a big way. I want to launch this. And let's see if we can get over 1,000 people. Well, I told him about this venue. And he said, yeah, let's go there. It's beautiful. It's the best. Swami was like that. He's like, let's do it. For master, he was extremely ambitious. He said, even in one another, when he would give a class, he said, I see master in everybody. And he said, when you have that level of reverence, if let's say God is coming to your house, or God has come to you over the bank cash counter, God has come to you into your medical clinic. Swami says, the way you approach that situation becomes divine, extremely divine. So Swami, for him, it was not a book launch. It was not about numbers. He Guru, and so we did first gene for my clinic. Swami wants to come here. And you know what he tells me? He said, Aditya, this is my last year of serving over here. In the last 40 years, I have prayed so many times to God. Artists in have prayed, and he said, I was almost giving up hope. And one fine day, Swami says, without knowing it, he says, or at least I'm saying without knowing anything, what do we know about the mind of a man? And Swami says, let's go there. We'll go there. And then we met Biswasji. He did a remarkable program and such. He helped us organize it. And then Swami met Mr. Biswas. And Swami said to him just one line. He said, Biswas, I know you. He said, he held his hand. He said, I know you. And Biswasji, a year later, less than a year later, left his body on a very auspicious time at midnight on a very auspicious day. But just again, think of it. Somebody asked Kriyananda ji, how did Yogananda train his most advanced disciples? Swami said, through silence. Silence. Sometimes he said a glance, a facial expression. Once in a while, he said a tilt of the head. That's how he trained the most advanced disciples. So it's not so much about, yes, years, decades with the saint. Why not? Always very helpful. But like Swami used to repeat, a moment can be enough. He said, if you're open, and Biswas said, I was praying, I'm praying, I'm praying. And comes Swami and he says, this is, I know you. Around that event, 2 days before now, I was doing the logistics of that program. And when it's such a high place, you need a host of permissions from traffic department, police, security, fire, people who are going to go on stage, and many were from Europe, from the US. Who are they? Passports for each person, visa, duration, lots of paperwork. So we did it all. 2 days, 1 day before the event, Swami, I get a news, Swami wants a lady and to come and play the piano for him. He's going to sing 2 songs at the end. And we need a piano. And I'm like, now it's the weekend. Swami's talk was Sunday. I get to know this on Saturday. Government offices are closed pretty much. So I was like, piano and lady and permissions. And Biswas says, now let it be. Now we'll just do it. I'll arrange, he said, the piano and such. And this person came. She got a standing ovation. She sang Love Is All I Know and another song by Swamiji. Now, here's the interesting thing. Swami had finished his dinner a day prior to the public event, and he was going back to his room, and he saw a girl play a piano. And he said to her, he said, ma'am, I'm going to talk tomorrow at NCPA, and would you be willing to play the piano for 2 of my songs? And she said, absolutely, sir. And he said, come, then we can practice in my room. And they did. And they performed. So I'm sitting there in the hotel 3 years later, and I'm telling this gentleman, this devotee, oh, Swami came from here, we had coffee here, Jyotish and Deviji and Asha and many, many others were here. And I said, you see this red piano? He said, yes. I said, Swami asked a girl who was playing the piano to basically, sing for him, and they did, and it was remarkable, He said, wow. We go back to our coffee, and a minute later, a girl comes. She sits on the piano. She starts playing something. And my friend says, oh, maybe you should go and ask her. I said, oh, this was 3 years ago, He said, no, why not? And I said, yeah, why not? So I walked up, and I just went, and she was playing. And I said, good afternoon. She said, good afternoon. I said, ma'am, I'm from a spiritual organization. And 3 years ago, our leader was staying in this hotel, and he had a talk in NCP. I was trying to explain. And she said, I said, there was a talk in NCP. And she said, oh, Swami Kriyananda. I said, oh, yeah. She said, I know him. I was the girl who played those songs. I said, really? She said, oh, yes. And where is he? I never knew who I was playing for. He asked me. I practiced at night and performed the next day. She said, I want to meet him. And I said, well, he's left his body. And she said, oh, really? But she said, I remember he taught me 2 songs. And trust me, then and there, she's like, love is all I know. Then she played another one. I helped her a little bit with the songs. And she was like, he was so sweet, so humble. I didn't know how important, that's how people talk about somebody who's popular and well-known. But she said he was so childish. The third story I'll tell you how Swami touched. And remember, these are not people who have taken Kriya or years or decades on the path. These are people Swami is meeting as he's walking. Like he said about Master. Master was once going from, I believe, San Diego or somewhere to Mount Washington, and he says, stop the car. And they stop the car, and he gets off, he goes into this thrift store, and he's picking all sorts of trinkets and things here and there, and he brings this huge, collection of things at the counter. He says, I'd like to buy these. The person says, are you sure? It's like they're all random things, and she starts making the bill and adding. When the final numbers came, she burst out crying. And she said, sir, I don't know who you are, but God himself must have sent you to me, because it's time to close the shop, and I very badly needed exactly this amount of money. And by this time, one monk had come into the shop wondering, why did Master stop the car, and what's he doing in the store? So he's looking and he's like, what's going on? And he said, when this lady said that, Master just smiled. He didn't say, yes. He just loving, he pulled out the money, gave her the money, took all those things. So like they say, it's in your day-to-day life, it's in your moment by moment, being in God, being a servant of or instrument of God, that you realize the genius, the greatness of a person. This third story, somebody had gifted us a car. I get a call. Somebody was coming to the US. This gentleman is a citizen of US, but of Indian origin. And we've been friends, and he gives me a call one day. I'm at Delhi airport, and he said, Aditya, I'm packing and I'm moving to the US, bag and baggage. He said, there's a car which is in my mom's name, and she's left her body. And he said, I don't have the paperwork very well. So he says, nobody's willing to take it on a truck and deliver it to you guys. But if you want the car, just come down and take it. He's like 1,000 miles from me. So yeah, so I said and we didn't have a good car. We had a little, small car in Pune. So I said, okay. He said, you have 2 days. I said, I'm coming. So I land in Pune. I take one of the monks. We go to Mumbai. We take a flight down to Coimbatore city. I get the keys and I say, bye-bye. And I said, now, okay, let's drive up. We're going to ride this car. So we're driving. And on the second day, this monk gets some fever. So I'm like, I said, I'll drive, take it easy. I said, and I had this surprise in my mind. As we were coming up, we were going to cross Goa. And Swami, for about 20 years, took his vacation in Goa, especially a place called Taj Exotica, right on the beach. And he would go there. So I said, I can't pay for our stay, but I can get you breakfast over here. So just as we were close, I said, we're going to the Taj Exotica. We'll have breakfast and something nice. He said, okay. So we go in and make ourselves comfortable. The nice food came. And after the food, as we were leaving there, they have these gift shops. So I said, oh, come, let's see. He said, no, Aditya, this is a 5-star hotel. He said, we can't afford this. I said, we're just going to see. Like they say in India, seeing is free. That's how you caught. I said, just let's see. I said, Swami used to come here. He used to live here, stay here. I said, let's just see. So we go into this shop, the very first shop, beautiful, big Kashmiri furniture, Kashmiri shop. And of course, everything was exorbitant and top of the line and handicrafts and all. But at the corner, they had this section, discounts. So I said, we went there. And there were some little things over there. So I said, yeah, we'll take this. I said, these 3-4 things we can take. So we bring them to the counter. This guy starts packing them. And he's talking to us. And he says, are you from Goa, sir? He said, no, we are from Pune. But I said, we're both driving up. And we thought we'll have breakfast over here. I said, because my teacher used to come here. I said, for us, this is a place of pilgrimage. And he said, okay. So I said, yeah, my teacher used to come here. And I tell you, about 5 to 8 minutes had gone by, and the shop was 3/4 of the size of this temple. And we were looking all around. We were doing our billing on this side. I had not noticed right where, what's your good name? Keith, right where Keith is sitting. There was a guy sitting over there. So I'm doing my billing over here. And I said, oh yeah, my teacher used to come here. This is 2016. And I hear this voice from behind, deep, resonant voice. He said, I think I know who you're talking about. I said, oh. I said, who? He said, I said, Swami Kriyananda? He said, Swami Kriyananda! He used to come here every year. He said, where is he? He hasn't come. Again, I told him. But then we just sat down and tea was brought, coffee was brought. We said, let's talk. And he said, he used to come every year. That guy, after so many years, he remembered in all those 20 years, all the things he got for Swami Kriyananda. He said, I got him that gemstone, this Kashmiri carpet, that book stand, and this thing, and that cabinet, that divider. He remembered everything. And he remembered the name of others who came with him many times. And then I said, how was it with Swamiji? And he said, he was just your friend. He was sweet. He was just loving. He said he would many times invite me to the lunch table, just he and I sitting together. And he would talk about people. He would send love to others. He would once in a while buy a gift and ask me to give it to a complete stranger on another table. I mean, again, what are these things telling us? Normally when we're going through life, like Swami says, get rid of the ego. What's the ego? Ego is the soul, the infinite soul, identified with a little form. What about me? Swami said. I think in Charlotte's Web, I believe he used to say, what's in it for me? And Swami said, you have to get rid of that. He said, here you are a child of God. He is infinite. And you're still wondering what little thing you are going to get. And Swami says, if you can set the dynamics right, he says, everything is yours. I say, God will help you. Divine Mother will help you. But you have to become childlike. So in Swami, I saw a person who was childlike. He was extremely trusting in God. He had enormous power at the same time. And to the human ego, to the personality, it seems like, wow, he's so powerful. But we forget that that power is God's power. It has been there in all saints. They've somehow managed to get out of the way. And naturally, once you get out of the way, what comes through is the soul's power, the God's power, God's knowing. He was very sweet. There was no ego. When you're unripe, that the ego comes. When you're ripe, like a fruit, the sweetness, only sweetness. Another time, I had a meeting with him, and unfortunately, a few people knew about it. Or actually, what had happened was Swami's satsang ended, and somebody said, Aditya, we're going to rearrange the furniture and all. Come, and Swami might take a little break. Why don't you stand right outside the hall and come back in 5 minutes? So I said, okay. So Swamiji had ended his satsang with the story, many of you would know, that once he was 22 years old, he's working in Mount Washington, and suddenly he hears, there's a snake in the women's monastery, there's a snake. And Swami's like, there was nobody else around, so he took a stick and he's like, where is it? Where's the snake? And Swami said, he went, and before he knew anything, the snake was killed. And then some expert came and they're like, oh, but this is not venomous. Who killed him? And Swami felt very bad. And they said, oh, you should have waited. It was a harmless creature. And Swami said 3 days went by, and whenever he would sit to meditate, this thought would come to him that I killed that snake, and he was not able to meditate. And he said 3 days went by, and one day Master just walked into his room. Master said, Walter, can you boil me a jar of water? And Swami said, right away. So he boiled it. Master said, come with me. And they both went to the garden, and Master took him to an ant hill. And Master said, pour it inside. And Swami poured the water. And Master said nothing. And Swami ended his satsang with that story. So, two Guru Bhais met me outside. And Swami said, well, thank you everybody for coming. And people left. And this devotee couple, they said, Aditya, you're going back inside again, aren't you? I said, yes. They said, can you do us a favor? said, yeah. They're like, can you ask Swamiji to explain that? First, he kills a snake. Then he pours water in a live anthill. Master asks him to do that. Now, I had understood the story. So but I said, sure, I'll ask them. But then I was like, why did I say yes? This is my time. First of all, I understood the story. Now, yes, they didn't, and they needed an explanation. But I thought, oh my goodness, this is my time with Swamiji. And here I'll be starting with somebody else's question. In any case, I was like, oh, now time has gone by. I should calm myself. I should meditate. So anyway, just after a few moments, I knocked, and I must have been just like about 30, 40 yards away from Swami's house. So I came in, and he said, welcome. I said, yes, Swamiji. And he says, Aditya, one time when I was a monk in Mount Washington, I was working on my desk, and somebody said, snake, snake, there's a snake. And I'm like, yeah. He said, and I took a stick, and I killed, and he repeated that entire story right away. And then he said, Master asked me to pour water in that anthill. I think he was trying to tell me that I should not let my feelings be affected on a matter like that. Of course, it's not good to kill ants or snakes, but I had passed so many days in that state of not being able to be in peace in God and such. And I said, yes, Swami, I understand. But as he was sharing that story, there was this little twinkle in his eyes. That because I was praying, I said, look at my dilemma. I'm taking somebody's question. What do I do? Is it appropriate to take Swami's time once again for something like that? But he was just very sweet, very loving. Anyway, I'll close at that. There are there are so many beautiful things. Now, actually, I'll close with one story. I had said how Swamiji is very much alive. Absolutely. And I say this, absolutely alive. Absolutely. Because just like we didn't meet Yogananda. Yogananda came through Kriyanandaji. Now, why do we love Swami Kriyananda? Because Swami was a pure channel, a gem of very high value. There's no impurity in there. There's nothing obstructing that light. That day when the book was launched in Mumbai, NCPA, a week before that, the son of, have you heard of Neem Karoli Baba? Yes, his foremost disciple. Today, if you go to Kenchi Dham, where his Samadhi temple is, right opposite his temple, next to his temple, they've made in pure white marble the temple of his foremost disciple, who was a lady. Her son was about 60 years of age, 55. He told me, he said, one day, Neem Karoli Baba, he said, I and my mom was standing, and he said to her, I forget her name originally, he said, why don't you go in silence? And he said she didn't even say yes. He said she bowed and she remained in silence for the rest of her life. And he said, my mom, my mother, who is a saint, her name is Maunima. Maun means silence. She was always in silence after that. Interestingly, I met, now we became friends, her son and I. And he then told me, I'll tell you actually another, do I have some more time? Yeah, okay, it's 8:30 now. It's still 9. You guys want a break or something? No, we are good. Okay. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. So what had happened is, you see, even in the smallest of things, and this is a discussion Mr. Bisht, his name is, Monima's son, and I had. He said, Aditya, one time I was just sitting on a chair, and saints are people of extremely high energy, no restlessness, but very high energy. So he said, Ma was passing by, and she would talk to him telepathically or sometimes write it on a slate. And she said to him, why are you sitting over here? Do something. And he's like, well, the work is done. I've done everything. And she said, why don't you go on pilgrimage? Take a few people and go to Kashmir. And she suggested one particular temple. Kashmir at that time was in the grips of extreme terrorism. Nobody was going there. There was curfew for 50 miles. There was these no man's land and such. And she says, why don't you go? So he takes a few people. He said, well, Ma said it. And that was our discussion. If your guru tells you to do something, you say, okay, I'm on. And he said, I took a few people, Aditya. I went. And he says, trust me. Right from the curfew point, at the curfew point, we meet a guy who's from our village. He knew my mother. He knew me. He got me 2 soldiers with guns in the car, took us all the way, provided food, hot water, room to stay. And then he said, we took the darshan next day in the temple. We are coming back. And when they're coming back, just about to leave the hotel, one lady in the group, she says, oh, we've come to Kashmir so far. Why don't we do some shopping? It's natural. Normally you allow for some time to go. And he says, in normal circumstances, I would have allowed. But Ma was very clear, go and come right away. And he said, you stay if you have to, but I'm leaving. And she said, no, we're all together. If you're leaving, I'll also come. So he said, we got in our car. And he said, Aditya, we got 200 meters ahead and we heard gunshots. And their car was taken far away. And he said the headlines was, terrorists entered the lobby of the hotel where he checked in like a minute ago. And he says, so the interesting thing was, danger, difficult work, whatever it is, if your guru tells you to do it, like Master, when he came to America, right here in Boston, 1920, he didn't even know English. He didn't have money. Imagine going to India without friends, without money, without knowing Hindi or any language when others don't know anything. And Master said to his guru, he said, they speak English. I speak Bengali. And his guru said, English or no English, your words will be well received. And then the story, Master, then somebody says, why don't you give us a lecture, sir? In the ship, you're together for 2 months. I came a few days ago in 20 hours. Master came in 2 months. And so he's on the ship. He's telling people, I've been invited to speak about Hinduism. And they're like, sir, give us a talk while we are in the ship, in the amphitheater. And Master says, okay. And he's standing there. He said, for 20 minutes. He said yes. The time came. It was announced. And Master said, people started laughing. They were with him a few more minutes. Then they started talking. Then they started outright. They said, this is a joke. He is frozen in fear. And Master prayed to his guru. He said, you want these laughter bombs for me? You want these? I'm happy to keep standing here, but is this what you had in mind? It's been 20 minutes. And he said he heard Sri Yukteswarji in his mind, speak. And Master said he spoke. For 45 minutes, he gave a lecture. Then he later himself went to, and people thanked him. And he said, what did I speak, by the way? And they said it was very inspiring. And Master said from that talk, he got invitations to speak in many parts. I mean, on one level, it bypasses our reasoning. I'll give you another story about Bishji. So Bishji, when he came to meet Ma, that day Swamiji gifted them 6-7 copies, one to each person in their group, of Paramhans Yogananda biography. And Swami said, I'm launching this next week in Mumbai. Keep it in your prayers. Mr. Bisht left for the Himalayas where his mother would stay. And he called me, interestingly, the same morning where Kriyananda ji was launching the book in Mumbai. And he said, oh, we've reached home. We are all fine. I said, oh, nice. He says, by the way, I reached home and I showed Ma the book. And Ma only knew Hindi. I'm not even sure if she was literate, like Anand Mohima. I'm not sure if she knew how to read or write. Maybe she did, but English, no. And he shows her. He said, Ma didn't even open the cover of the book. And she said to me, this book has been written by a very great disciple. She said, Kriyananda's discipleship is the rarest of the rare in this world. He is a very great disciple of a very great master. And then Ma said, this book will be a success. So he calls me that day. And I'm like, wow, our auditorium has 1,112 seats. I'm like really, really praying that it be full. 400 people could not get inside the hall. They were standing outside because the seats were taken. And there was no standing allowed. Now I'll go back one step behind. How did I meet Mr. Bisht? I started a library in Pune. Swami, again, he would meet you. The day I came to him, I had left behind everything, my medical books, stethoscope, all that. And Swami says, he said, why don't you start a rural clinic? I'm like, okay. So I start, thinking how can I get things back? But then the following day, he also asked the other monks to take me to Pune. I met him in Gurgaon. He said, I'm sending the monks to Pune, about 1,000 miles away. And he said, why don't you go? Would you like to go with them? I said, sure, I'd be happy to. I said, my medical school was there. I know the place. He said, I'm starting a work. Why don't you go there? And would you like to start a rural clinic? I said, I'd be happy to, sir. So he said, okay, you have my blessings. Now, I landed in Pune. When I came to him again, as a consolation to my parents, my life earning at that time, it was more than the salary I told you, but it was less than $1,000. So what I did was, I told my parents, I said, you don't need my money. I said, but I just want to give whatever I have earned, saving about like $15, $20. I kept it. I said, I'm giving it to you so that you know that I really love you, that this is the best I could do for you. I said, and I'm going to Ananda. So I came to Swami, and I had then about 510 rupees in my pocket. And Swami, now when Swami would tell you, go to America, go to Pune, it's not like he would give you money or arrange for that. He would be testing you, your faith. It's like, let's apply the teachings now. So he said, would you go to Pune? I said, yes. Would you start a clinic? I said, yes. And then he told others, what else will we do in Pune? I said, I love books. I can start a library. He said, good, you have my blessings. I said, so I gave him a book, which, I'll someday, it's a wonderful Indo-American collaboration. The author is American. The illustrator is Indian. It's a beautiful book. I gave it to Swami. He wrote back, oh, I love this book. You have my blessings. So I reached Pune and I borrowed 10,000 rupees. Again, what is it, like $100, $120 from a monk, because I wanted to buy some medicines, get a little bag going so I can start my clinic. And then I had another $50, $60 for some books. And this was bare bones. I literally cut bamboo sticks and plywood, put it on bricks and all to start a simple library for people of, who are the working class, laborers, construction workers. And I went from door to door to promote the library. And after I had done that exercise, first of all, I went to a shop to buy some books. You start a library, some books. So I remember the first feedback I got when the library was launched. One lady came, she looked around, she said, these books are good, but you could have some more. You called it a library. I said, we are adding. I said, we are adding. We'll add. I said, but it's good that, I said, why don't you read what we have right now? And we'll add more. So I remember I went to a bookstore and I started looking at books. And 3.5 hours went by. And this guy comes behind me. He taps and he says, can I help you, sir? And I said, no, I'm fine. He said, no, I have been seeing you. I'm the owner of the shop. I saw you in the morning. I went home for lunch. I got my kid from school. I come back, you're still here. I said, no, I'm looking for some books for a children's library. He says, oh, all these books are excellent. These are handpicked. I said, I know. But I said, your books, that's increased my difficulty. Your books are very good. But I said, I have to be selective. I don't have the budget for all of these. So he looks at me, and I used to wear white now. I've taken you now through blue, yellow, and white. I started with white. Those are our monastic clothes. So he says to me that, he said, if you're a monk, he said, I have some spiritual questions. And by the way, the one book of Swami he had in his shop was Art and Science of Raj Yoga. He said, oh, this is a remarkable book. If you're Kriyananda's disciple, if you've met him, I have some questions. I said, oh, let's talk. So he said, no, let's go for coffee. He said, it's my treat, and let's go for coffee. And I'm like, I need books. I have to start the library and clinic tomorrow. It's like, this is a busy day. And he says, no, just a quick coffee. And so as we're going, he tells at the counter, he tells his assistant, he says, please pack the books from this, and this publisher for Dr. Aditya. And I said, Rohit, I don't have that kind of money. And he said, I'm not asking you for money. Just take the books. 300 books he gave me that day, 300 books. So I go for coffee. He's got questions, and you know how spiritual question and answers can go. At some point, I said, I have to go to the medical market and buy medicines and whatnot. And he says, how are you buying those things? You hardly have any money. I said, no, I've taken a loan of 10,000 rupees for 6 months. So he said, okay. So I go, and then I come back. I'm there. So he calls me while I'm shopping. He said, Aditya, on your way back home, swing by my shop, please. I said, okay. So I swing by, and he's standing in the parking. And he doesn't allow me to come out of the car. He gives me a little envelope. And I said, what is this? He said, go home and open it. I said, what is it? And then I said, it feels like cash. He said, it is for you. Go home and open it. And when I went home, it was all denominations. And there was a little note, as long as I am there, you don't need to borrow money from anybody. I'm meeting that man for the first time. And I thanked him. We are friends to this day. But the next day, I did my energization exercises in the morning, just outside the building we were staying. And I came in, and as I approached the elevator, Swami Kriyananda ji and Leela come out. And Swami says, good morning there. I said, good morning, Swami ji. He said, I'm heading for my morning walk. Would you like to join us? I said, of course. He said, give me a hand. So we started walking. And remember, he had blessed the library the previous day. So he asked me, he said, how are things going with the library and the clinic? I said, oh, Swamiji, you won't believe what happened yesterday. He said, tell me, we have 20, 30 minutes. What happened? I said, Swamiji, I told him the whole story. I went, and this happened. And then I said, I left home with 14,000 rupees. I came back with 14,000 rupees and 300 books and a bag full of medical equipment and medicines. And he just looked at me. He says, I'm so happy for you. But you tell me now, it's not by our efforts, planning, that we can do such a thing. It's like Mr. Bish said, when your guru tells you to do something, your and my job is to say, yes, I'm going to do it. He said, because in that exercise, like Master said, the saint's word is binding on the universe. Their word cannot be falsified. The universe is nothing but consciousness. And if a man of divine consciousness says it's going to happen, everything else has to rearrange itself. And that day, I knew in such a gentle, humble way, and at many other times, that what a remarkable soul. That is the power of one man becoming a saint. One man loving God so much. One man just, we, like Swami said, this world was blessed because Master lived in it. He said, look at 2,000 years ago. Who remembers who was there 2,000 years ago? People remember Christ. Billions of people are following his teachings. Buddha, Krishna. Master says that's what holds. Everything else a little bit rearranges itself. I'll close with this final story so that library. Now, not only did I get the books, I made many friends. I would ring doorbells. It's like, hello, I'm starting a library. And they're like, oh, good, not so good. Don't bother me. Let me know. And so, part of the exercise, why in earlier times they used to all ask you to beg. I was recently talking to some teachers, and I mentioned, I said, you're teaching meditation, yoga, this and that. I said, once in a while, somebody will insult you. They'll say something which is, not pleasing. And they're like, why should you let anybody insult you? I said, you don't allow anybody to insult you, but it's like a public work. Somebody throws a tomato at you, they throw a tomato. I said, you have to take it. And I said, it's good for the ego once in a while. I said, what had happened for me was somebody had told me your knowledge is zero. So I said, well, and it was raining. So I said, what? It was on the phone. I was inviting this person for another follow-up class. So I said, are you coming? He said, no. I said, okay. He said, and I want you to know your knowledge is zero. And I said, what? He repeated that. Like, okay. So I was giving that story and I said, it's okay, it happens. And I said, here we are trying to teach how to renounce the ego. I said, the teacher should be tested too once in a while. So I have made many friends when I was promoting that library. But one very priceless thing that came from that is this, that one morning, around 7:30, early morning, I get a call from a person who I had become friends with as I promoted the library. And this gentleman says, are you home? I said, yeah, it's early morning, I'm home. He said, I'm coming to the monastery. I'm coming to your home. We used to live in an apartment in the city. He said, with a friend. I said, please come. So they came. And we sat down and he says, this is Mr. Bisht. He's Mauni Ma's son. Mauni Ma is the disciple of Neem Karoli Baba. I said, oh, wonderful, wonderful. So then Mr. Bisht says, I offered them tea and breakfast. He said, I have to tell you how I came here. I said, tell me. He said, for decades, I've been asking my mother, who is a saint, to teach me how to meditate. Teachings go in many directions. And she taught, he said, thousands of people, but she didn't teach me. And she would always tell me, serve more, serve a little bit more, serve more. And he says, one day she tells me, why don't you learn how to meditate? And he said, okay. He thought, now it is. And she said, go to Ananda. So he says, Ananda, okay. And so he finds out our address. And he was old school. You know, and this story itself is from 2009, I believe, 8 or 9, 8, 10 or 9. So 9, actually, it was 9. So he wrote it on a piece of paper and he left from the Himalayas, first to go to Mumbai to do some work. And then he would come to Pune. And he was in Mumbai, just like I'm staying at Nancy's house. He was staying at somebody's house. And as a little gesture of hospitality, they asked him, oh, you've come after a long journey. Can I have your clothes? I'm not suggesting Nancy do this. But they took all his clothes and put it in the washing machine. And then ironed it and all for him. So next day, he's like, after breakfast, he's, okay, I'm ready now to kind of, not after breakfast, because breakfast was at our place. So he says, okay, I'll take the early morning bus to Pune. So he sits in the bus, and just when Pune is about to come, they make a call. Where do you want to get up out in Pune? So he puts his hand in the pocket for the address and gets this little ball of a mushy ball. He's like, what? Lost the address. Pune has 7 million people. So what do you do when you land up without knowing where you have to go? He called a very good friend he had and he says, hello, I'm somewhere in the bus. It's stopping somewhere. Can you come and pick me? And this guy picks him up. They come home and he said, Bhaiya, brother, why are you in this? Why are you in Pune? If you were coming, why didn't you tell me? He said, oh, this was a personal visit. I came to learn how to meditate. Ma told me go and learn how to meditate. And he said, I came, but I lost the address. And he said, it's okay, stay with us. And he said, but by the way, where were you going? He said, oh, it's some organization of Yogananda's teachings. It's called Ananda. He said, Ananda is run by Swami Kriyananda? Like, yes. He said, they're in the next building. I know a monk over there. He runs a library. So I get this call, I'm coming with somebody. That guy, Mr. Bisht, he reached there that morning. And again, you can see why our friendship started on that level. He said, Aditya, what are the chances? He said, when God wants to do something and we express willingness, he says these kind of things happen. So again, so many devotees, so many disciples of Swamiji, the word guru itself is misunderstood in our times. We were talking at lunch about so many teachings of Ayurveda, many things. Scriptures have been misinterpreted. Swami said in the Bible, it says, be a perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And Swami says many churches have made the word perfect into good. Be a good. And Swami says, even a gangster is good sometimes. to his family at least. And Swami says, goodness, good karma will not get you there. He said, be a perfect, no, not outwardly, but in our devotion, in our aspiration. So there's so much that could be said about Swamiji also, so many disciples. But Swami many times publicly said, he said, I'm not a guru. Because that word is misunderstood. Again, we see it from the lens of the ego, somebody who's important, big, popular, and such. It's none of those things. Christ didn't use the word guru, but he was. They called him master. He was like a brother. He was like a teacher. He was somebody who knew God. And when you know something, you can give it. Swami in 2012, very softly, gently, to a very small group of people. Jayaji was there, Dhyanaji was there, some others. And Swami very softly said, and Jayaji is not a man of exaggeration. Those who know him, is a man of very few words. But Jayaji said, he said, I had never seen Kriyananda ji in such an exalted state. And he said he would sometimes look at you for 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then he would thank you for something. And he moved from person to person. And then he looked at Dhyanaji and Jayaji and he said, Dhyana, I'm a guru. And she said, yes, sir, you are. And who is a guru? A person who has known God and has the aspiration to share it. So many friends of Swamiji, so many disciples of Swami, many people, I consider Kriyananda ji my guru. And Swami said, if Ananda is not producing saints, it might as well shut shop. He said, what else are we doing over here? So, but it's not like a saint declares himself or herself from the rooftops. Swami, very sweet. Again, it's a sacred thing. Like these stories I shared, some of them. It's like God is at work. Are you willing to be an instrument? So thank you for the opportunity. Swamiji was such a great soul. You know, I think one of the greatest things he left us is that promise. Yes, books, I'm seeing his books, music, all of us, a beautiful center dedicated, but the fact that through his teacher, through his students and disciples, you know, I remember one time I had 5 minutes between 2 meetings many years ago, but it was after Swami's passing. And in between meetings, I was making myself a fresh cup of coffee. So, but our kitchen, actually, just like yours, was right behind the altar. So I came from my office and I was going, and I really had this clear feeling that, would you like a blessing? Kind of came from the altar. And now if the masters ask you, do you want a blessing or a cup of coffee? It's good to take the blessing first, at least. I took a cushion. I sat down. And I can tell you that it was just like, with the suggestion, the answer was also given. It's not like God was depending on my answering ability. And said, do you want a blessing? And said a certain kind of blessing. And immediately it said, through whom would you like the blessing? Now, if the master is asking, and Swami's left his body, and when they said, through whom would you like the blessing? I was suggested an acharya from America. And I inwardly prayed. I said, sir, if it is your wish, may I receive this blessing? And instantly, that blessing was there. Now, why am I sharing that story, friends? Many times we feel, oh, master has left his body. I didn't meet him, okay? Swami's left his body. But the consciousness continues. And those who are open, Master used to say, St. Francis of Assisi, 1,000 years after Christ left his body, he had such devotion. He prayed so earnestly. Master confirmed, he said, Christ would manifest himself in flesh to console him every evening. So the beauty of the heights of these teachings are, it's not foggy, it's just like Master said, to my most advanced disciples, I teach through silence. If God is silence, how talkative would a saint be who's gone so close to him? Their emanation, their blessings, their presence flows to everybody. And this is why I shared the story, this little thing, that Swami likewise, his presence is not 11 years old because he left his body. On the spiritual path, as he said, all who call to me, I can come and help Shantima, just as I helped you. So let's take a minute to pray and meditate, to thank him for that presence. Let's invite his guidance in our lives, in our heart, that he may guide us through inspired thoughts, that he may give us the courage to follow that guidance, to receive his guidance and grace. Let's rub our hands together, send these blessings out into the world. Chant Om 3 times. Om. 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 And I'll invite Dhuti now to come and play us Swami's song, Peace.
And I had the same idea at the same time at the end of this song because I was very blessed to be in the last 3 years, the last 2 years of his life, with your father. So we hear that experience, but then the last couple of years was like, last couple of years of almost like to travel throughout India, whatever, but in India he was in 6 months, and for a period of time he was going to a new city every 3 weeks. And this is a man who couldn't walk on his own, and but he just had the power because he got out of the way of Master just coming through him so brightly. And he would end every program with this song. So we'll sing it together. Peace. Peace gave us mountains, peace gave us the sky. Nightly when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby.
Thank you, Aditya. What an incredibly beautiful and inspiring evening you've given us, and I think we all feel like Swamiji a little bit better because of your beautiful stories. And we'll be back here tomorrow. Sadhana is at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And would you like to, it's just a energization and meditation. We'll meditate for an hour. So from 8 to 9:15 tomorrow morning right here. We'll have breakfast right after that, and then the talk will go from 10 to 12.